Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Innocent Until Proven Guilty. This will be Part 6, Chapter 6, entitled New Normal. The rest of the week became a bit of a numb blur, excluding a few incidents. Tuesday classes were about the same as Monday. Izuku fought to only look at Shoto and the teachers. Aizawa-sensei seemed to sense he needed eye contact, and he offered Izuku soft glances throughout class. Izuku did everything he could to avoid the harsh gazes, trying to focus on the classwork instead. However, each time he went for a notebook to take notes, he felt the gazes turn threatening. So he resolved to get notes from Shoto for the rest of the week. Without a way to write and occupy his hands, he would fidget. It was a nervous habit, just like his mumbling. But he found that those habits scared his classmates too. So he stopped. He became silent. He became still. He wanted to disappear completely. In between classes and on breaks, Shoto would pull him to an empty class or somewhere secluded. He would wrap his arms around Izuku and whisper reassurances in his ear, to remind him he wasn't alone. Izuku was so grateful for Shoto, but those moments brought him back to the surface, forcing him to feel again. Outside of teachers and Shoto, the only other person to speak to Izuku was Kacchan. Never in his life did Izuku think he would be happy to hear insults thrown at him, but in this case, it meant Kacchan was still the same, and didn't see Izuku any differently. Izuku felt a surprising warmth flood him whenever he caught Kacchan glaring at their classmates. It seemed he didn't approve of their actions either. That was a relief. Wednesday saw Izuku injured and in Recovery Girl's office after their foundational heroics lesson. He sat on the bed, eyes downcast as he was forced to listen to another lecture on his supposed recklessness. The irony was, he didn't even cause it this time. While his classmates refused to speak to him, that didn't prevent them from getting physical, it seemed. All Might had split them into pairs to practice sparring with their quirks. Izuku had hoped he would be paired with Shoto, but it seemed fate wasn't feeling merciful lately, as Ashido was his partner instead. The first few matches went smoothly, with Izuku securing fast wins by pinning her with full cowl and speed. As they fought, he felt eyes watching them, and the atmosphere grew more tense by the second. By the time it was their fourth match, Ashido's demeanor shifted to become vengeful and full of scorn. Izuku froze momentarily from the sheer malice in her eyes. He just couldn't understand how they could all hate him so easily now. His pause was all she needed to launch burning acid at him. He reacted quick to her attack, but not quick enough as it still managed to hit his left arm. He dropped to the ground immediately and screamed in pain. The acidity was much worse than she usually used in sparring sessions. He could feel it burning through his uniform and into his skin. This was personal. He looked up at her with blurry eyes, no doubt from tears. She was frozen in place, hands shaking, but there was no remorse in her eyes. All sounds in the gym ceased. Outside of Izuku's cries of pain and two people running towards them, All Might ordered Ashido to stand down and sent the other students to the locker rooms to change. They all stood there for a moment hesitating. Izuku refused to look at them. He didn't want to see the satisfaction on their faces if it was there. With a glare from All Might, they eventually left, all except Shoto, who was now by Izuku's side, trying to comfort him. "Izuku, I'm here. You're going to be all right," Shoto soothed. Izuku had his arm clutched to his chest, breathing rapidly. Shoto was rubbing his hand in slow circles on his back, in a calm rhythm trying to help him relax. After a few minutes, Izuku managed to get his breathing under control. "My boy, We need to get you to Recovery Girl straight away to get this looked at," All Might stated quietly. Izuku flinched slightly and winced as the pain flared from jostling his arm. He did not want to see Recovery Girl. Not at all. "Young Todoroki, would you please escort young Midoriya? I will need to speak with Principal Nedzu and Aizawa about this," All Might added. Of course. Shoto immediately agreed. "I'll stay with him as well." All Might nodded his thanks, and with one last look toward Izuku, he headed off to have a few necessary conversations. "I just don't understand how you continue to wind up injured. It's just about every day with you," Recovery Girl scolded. She'd been on her tangent for about 10 minutes now, and Izuku still had yet to be healed. He hasn't spoken a word back, but Shoto had been clearly restraining himself the entire time. It was obvious with how tense he was holding Izuku's hand. "Honestly, it's getting quite ridiculous. I won't have you in here constantly abusing my quirk, too." She cut off as Shoto abruptly stood up, his chair crashing to the ground. "That's enough," he growled, not letting go of Izuku's hand still. Izuku looked up at him in shock. He knows Shoto cares, but he never really expected anyone to step in here. Wasn't Recovery Girl right anyway? He's just a nuisance who can't control his quirk. Besides, she's treated him this year, at least, which is more than he can say about his past school nurses. But he did have a quirk now, so maybe that was why. Recovery Girl was stunned into silence as well, it seemed. Her eyes were locked on Shoto as he continued. "I've sat here, listening to you berate Izuku this entire time, despite not even hearing the story of what had happened. You made a decision about what you assumed took place and decided to blame his recklessness and chose to scold him. Izuku was attacked with Ashido's quirk during sparring. It was much more volatile than usual. You would know that had you bothered to ask what happened," Shoto said, expression cold and unyielding. "Regardless of what happened, though, what's worse is that you've still yet to treat him at all," he accused. Izuku remained silent, processing Shoto's words. He's right. She never once asked about what happened, and despite seeing he was in pain, still hadn't treated him. That had to be wrong, right? She should have treated him by now. Izuku still can't bring himself to speak, but he wills himself to look at Recovery Girl who, for her part, looks somewhat ashamed. "You're right, dearie," she says quietly. "I should have focused on what's more important here." Izuku met her eyes, and the shock he felt must have shown because her expression turned even more guilty. She walked slowly over to him and placed a kiss on his arm, to which he flinched, and the next thing he knew was darkness. Thursday morning, Izuku woke up in Recovery Girl's office. It seemed the healing from the day before took a lot more energy than he thought it would. He looked around the room and noticed on the chair Shoto had been in yesterday, there was a set of clothes and a note. A smile spread across his face as he read it. "They wouldn't let me stay the whole night here with you, I'm sorry. I argued, trust me. I brought you clothes in case you didn't have time to get back to the dorm before classes today. Hope you're feeling better. Shoto." Somehow, he always knew how to make him feel better. He felt warmth in his chest at the thought of Shoto writing this for him. Today was going to be better. He could feel it. Grabbing the clothes, he started to change and get ready for class. As he put on his shirt, he noticed the scar on his arm from yesterday. Well, what's one more, right? Shaking himself from his thoughts, he finished changing and headed out of the infirmary, wanting to avoid a confrontation with Recovery Girl if possible. Checking his phone for the time, he saw it was only a few minutes until homeroom. He started to run, only to wind up immediately crashing into someone. Papers and school supplies dropped to the ground. "I'm so sorry. I wasn't looking where I was going. That's entirely my fault." Izuku rushed to apologize. scrambling to pick up the items on the ground. A rough voice cut him off. "Don't bother, just leave it. Wouldn't want to slow you down getting to your precious heroics class." Izuku looked up to meet Shinso's eyes. He'd been trying desperately to talk to the other since the sports festival, to no such luck. Shinso always managed to avoid him. "Shinso, I really am sorry. I've actually been meaning to talk to you for a while now about your quirk." He was cut off again as Shinso scoffed. "What, so you can gloat about how yours is better? No thanks," Shinso stated dryly. His tone was apathetic, but his eyes held anger. They held eye contact for a moment, before Shinso smirked. "Heard the rest of 1A finally got tired of your fake nice act, by the way. Must suck that it's not working anymore," he sneered. Izuku flinched at the words. Not only was Shinso clearly not interested in being his friend, word had started to spread to other classes now about the hostility in his class. Izuku wanted to be sad about it, but after everything he feels angry more than anything. "Why are you trying so hard to act like this? Just give it up already," Shinso mocked. He looked like he wanted to say more, to continue to taunt. But shock flitted across his face as Izuku suddenly started laughing hysterically on the ground. "What?" Shinso started, but Izuku kept laughing. After a few moments, he slowed and got his breathing more under control. "You know, it's funny. After the sports festival, I felt connected to you," Izuku murmured, laying on his back in the hall, staring at the ceiling. "I thought, wow, someone finally gets it, you know? Someone finally gets what it means for society to be the ones to beat you down for something you can't control." Izuku chuckled darkly and continued. "I thought to myself, someone like that, someone who understands, deserves to be a hero. Because someone who understands will fight to stop it from happening to others." Izuku smiled, but the gesture didn't meet his eyes. "UA was supposed to be different," Izuku says quietly. He doubts Shinso heard him. I thought it would be nice to be friends with someone who gets it. You had this amazing quirk that would be perfect for heroics, but people don't want to give you a chance. I know what it's like when the world tells you you're not suited for something. I knew, though, that you deserved it, so I thought I'd help you to... well, it doesn't matter now." Izuku trailed off as he stood up and looked at Shinso, whose eyes were wide and confused. "I can see now that you don't want to be friends, and I'm sure you'll get into the hero course on your own. I won't bother you again. Don't worry," Izuku said honestly, and he walked away, leaving Shinso alone. The rest of Thursday went by the same as before, minus Ashido missing. As classes ended for the day, Izuku stayed in the classroom while everyone else filed out. Aizawa-sensei had asked to speak with him, and at this point, he was rather curious. He remained in his seat, and just like earlier that week, Aizawa-sensei came and sat at the desk next to his. It was quiet for a moment before Izuku chose to break the silence. "Is everything all right, Sensei?" he said softly. He heard Aizawa sigh, and he turned to look at him. "Why does it not surprise me that you're having the worst week, and you still choose to check to see if others are all right first?" Aizawa sighed again, exasperated, but there was a slight twitch of his lips that indicated he was amused. "What? No. No way. Aizawa-sensei never smiles." "Anyway, I wanted to check in with you about tomorrow." Aizawa clarifies. "Ah, yes, the interrogation. I wanted to remind you I'll be there the whole time, and this is only to clear your name so things can go back to normal for you." "Things won't be going back to normal, Sensei. You and I both know that," Izuku muttered, and his eyes flicked down to his hands. "What do you mean, kid? Aizawa asked. He knew what Izuku meant, but wanted to hear it from him. None of them even asked me, he said softly. His tone was resigned. None of them even thought to ask. They did what people always do. They assumed, and they showed me where my real friendships are. When my name is cleared, part of me wants them to beg for forgiveness, for them to be remorseful, for them to be ashamed. But the other part of me wants them to leave me alone. I can't really blame you for that, kid. They did turn their backs on you. I can't imagine how you feel, Aizawa said solemnly. I don't, Izuku said. What? Aizawa asked. I don't feel much lately. Not towards them, Izuku confessed. Aizawa was quiet for a moment. Kiddo, look at me, Aizawa said lowly. And Izuku knew better than to disobey a teacher, so he does. Aizawa's eyes are soft and full of concern. Tomorrow, your name will be cleared. But know this, regardless of whether we questioned you or not, I know without a doubt the kind of person you are. You are going to be a great hero, but do you know why? He asked rhetorically. Because of your heart, kid. Don't let this change who you are. You still have solid people in your corner. Todoroki is clearly on your side. Bakugo, strangely enough, has been as well. The other teachers, and me, kid. You'll always have me in your corner, I promise. Izuku searched Aizawa's eyes and found he was telling the truth. Izuku sucked in a ragged breath, and his vision was getting a bit blurry. He didn't know what to say. He's never had a teacher other than All Might have this kind of faith in him before. It's overwhelming. Aizawa seems to notice Izuku's growing panic, so he reaches out slowly and ruffles Izuku's hair again. This time, Izuku doesn't even think to flinch. He leans into the touch and uses it to ground himself. Once Izuku settles, Aizawa pulls his hand away, chuckling softly. Come on, kid. You should get back to the dorms and rest for tomorrow. It will probably be a long day. Izuku nods. Thank you, Sensei. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 6 of Innocent Until Proven Guilty. Chapter 7 will be up next. Drop your comments down below for me. Let me know your thoughts, your reactions to everything so far in this fic, especially with this most recent chapter. And as always, thank you all so much for listening.